Okay, so we have to talk, and we have to talk Palladium, because there are things that have been going on, and there's entirely too much of it for me to put into one little post, but we got to get through this because, oh wow, stuff has happened, and it's big. So if you didn't make it to, or if you need a refresher from this last weekend's adventure, our heroes were parked under Mount Shasta in in what used to be Northern California in our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles / After the Bomb setting. And so they dug under. They received messages if they needed to learn more magic, they could find the lost city of Telos, and they dug under Mount Shasta until they found the lost city of Telos, which is actually an artificial environment hidden in the core of this ancient volcano. And it looks very pretty, and there's magical illusions that allow sunlight, etc., to show up, and you can see the ridge line of where the illusion kicks in this massive cave. And there's fields and even little bits of forest inside this big gleaming city, and the city has multiple layers that go further underground, so it's actually a fairly large metropolis. And our heroes managed to break in through a fresco, through some artwork in the museum, and there was some confusion as the isolated magical city under the mountain is a little isolated, and thought everybody was still speaking 1980s surfer culture in California. But they then realized everybody could speak Draconic, which is Elvish, and Draconic, which is effectively Latin, and things got much less silly quickly. The city of Shasta is ruled by enlightened masters, a council of 10 enlightened masters under the mountain. Just like the New Agers in California have always said that the enlightened masters appear from Shasta, in the lost city of Telos. We have, however, a problem, and that problem is not all of our characters play well with others. I'm hesitant to put that up. That's not great. So we have an elf. My players like to change each other's icons to tease each other, so that's not actually racist jokes. That's just my college kids being college kids. Please don't cancel me, bro. All right. Anyway. Our mind mage Lex. Yeah, let me do it this way. Well, I'm pretty sure I've got Lex here. Goodness gracious, you guys are going to get me in trouble online. Oh, I don't have an image. I just have a bunch of stats. Never mind. So Lex is a mind mage, and he's developed a new trick he's kind of obsessed with, which is he can touch somebody and download everything they've ever known. And it's a mutual process, kind of like the Vulcan mind meld, but he immensely uses the power of erase memory to delete everything all of his identity from the other person's brain, and they basically just don't know what happened. Mind wipe is the power. So he specifically mind wipes himself out of the other person's brain and then just keeps everything, and then uses total recall to gain their skills and abilities, which is an incredible way to break the Mind Mage character class in Palladium Fantasy. More power to you, you devious such and such. You're only the second person that I've ever had figure this out. Well, the party was brought before the assembly of enlightened masters, and they were welcomed, and they were told they were very gracious. What I didn't tell the characters, what I didn't tell my heroes, was that Lex, if he wants all the knowledge, etc., of this new city, who better to do it from than to accidentally stumble and bump into the head of the Council of Enlightened Masters. And the rolls that I did on my tabletop while I'm trying to keep a straight face for my gamers, the the enlightened master rolled like a 2 and then a 3 for his saves, and Lex managed to roll like to prowl to do something sneaky in a big lit room is like a 50% penalty, and he made it. Like he rolled like 23% for his prowl. So he was able to accidentally bump into the foot of the ascended master as he was turning to go, and downloaded him. And this is and delete it. So this is the problem. Is he got away with it? He mind bonded the head of the entire city, mind melded, whatever you want to say. And for about a month, he automatically gets to keep all of that person's knowledge and skills. So he knows a truth that he can't say. So in Palladium, there are various kinds of dragons, including a kind of dragon called an Ultukan. Ultukan dragons are a couple times the size of a bull. I mean, they're not. They kind of max out at 8 tons. So these are not blue whales or the kind of anime dragons that are the size of football fields. They're massive, they're for a person, they're really big. They're like dinosaur size, but they're not, they're not brontosaurus size. They're kind of like stegosaurus size, things you could conceivably climb. Excuse me. These are the only dragons that accumulate in societies of about 2 to 12. And it turns out that 700 years ago, the city of Telos was a functioning magical refuge. People who had fled a terrible war in a magical fantasy world to what would eventually become the United States. And they built their city underneath a volcano and used it as a sanctuary so they could all live in peace. They were tired of the war. They brought their gods. They brought their religion. They had temples. 700 years ago, a family of Ultukan dragons appears in the guise of elves, and they claim great enlightenment because as dragons they have powers and attributes far beyond any dragon, any elf. And they convince the people to give up all of their religions and effectively worship, although they're being very sly about it, they're accumulating worship the way that Democrats worship government. They look to the council for all of their well-being and all of their guidance and all, and all wisdom, and telling everybody what to do. This is actually a plot of this family of dragons to ascend to godhood, because in Palladium fantasy, if you can get enough people giving you energy from worship, you get another level of power, and you can call yourself a god. Yeah, good luck. But that's effectively how one of the paths to godhood in this setting. This is like little g god. We're talking about beings that can be killed, and they have foils, not the actual god. I'm still a Christian, but this is one way to become a false deity. The problem is that Ultukan dragons. Let me read this out. All right. So the Ultukan dragon is comparatively rare in the Palladium world. They're small, almost delicate creatures with long, snaking necks, round eyes, round heads, small eyes, 2 pink holes for a nose. It looks like catfish dragons. If somebody put a catfish head on this really long, thin, snaky neck. The tail is long and thin, equal to the length of the body from the butt to the tip of the nose. The Ultukan's arms are bat-like wings with a single clawed finger in the middle. Their skin is smooth and almost silky feeling. Skin color is almost always pastel white, gray, almost silver, light pink, light purple, or light blue. Ulticon is highly intelligent, but usually tries to avoid contact with the dragons and mortals. Here we go. Except to manipulate, control, or enslave them. The dragon sometimes uses members of the monster races as servants, slaves, and minions, but never considers them friends or allies, just pawns to be used. They're attracted to supernatural beings, particularly demons, devils, and gods. They may even accept greater ones, lords and gods, as colleagues, friends, and allies. They also respect powerful sorcerers and mind mages. Moving on, they have magic and psychic powers. The goal of the Ulticon seems to be strange experimentation in medicine and torture, and the control and enslavement of lesser beings. They are infamous for conducting terrible experiments involving torture and magic on lesser beings, humans, and Wolven in particular. These experiments, torture, and games can involve pain. They love to study pain tolerance, mind control, illusions, psychological effects, emotions, insanity, cause and effect, psionics, and magic. They frequently engage in field experiments in which test subjects undergo some psionic, magic, medicinal, physical, or psychological torture or experiment and is then slowly released or allowed to escape. The dragons then secretly follow and observe. They're always observing and studying human behavior with their subjects using magic, invisibility, and metamorphosis to conceal themselves. They also engage in observational studies of humanoids and their natural environments without first inflicting some traumatic experience on them. It is important to note that the Ulticon fear and shun other species of dragons, but are extremely social, for dragons, with fellow Ulticons. These dragons mate for life, are fiercely dedicated and loyal to their mate, and often gather in tiny communities or study groups of 4 to 12, usually all mated pairs. And they have magic songs that can, affect the nervous system, as anything from heroin to acid. So that's lots of fun. And this city underneath the city of Telos is being ruled by a council of 10 of them. They go by Latin ordinal numbers, so primus, secundus, tertius, quartus, quintus, sextus, septimus, octavus, nonus, and decimus. And the one that our beloved mind mage managed to download is an ancient dragon of level 21. Man, am I not looking forward to doing the rolls of all of the spell knowledge, etc., that he just gained. Because I'm kind of intimidated. But he knows that they're all evil. If you think cult of mad scientist dragons, that's the Ultucon. There's 10 of them. And it turns out that they are inevitably going to kill the heroes. By inevitably kill the heroes, I mean it's only a matter of time, probably a couple years, because they're dragons. They think on a different time scale, before they figure they've learned everything they can learn from the ninja village on top, on their territory, and dragons are territorial. And then they will have no further use for our heroes. Probably once the dragons have learned ninjutsu, so they can be better fighters and have learned whatever strange things. Unless the heroes directly get in their way, in which case the players will be killed instantly. There's 10 dragons on this mountain, underneath this mountain, and there's 1 to 4 dragons have been observing our heroes ever since the second or third day they've arrived. So the ninja village is under constant surveillance. They have astral projection, so they can be watching with just their minds. They can turn invisible, so they can be watching, they can have metamorphosis. So any fox or big squirrel, it's down to about the size of a cat. So any fox or wolf or bear, or a really big eagle, could be a dragon observing. They have telepathic powers, so they can listen in on anything anybody says. So not only are you guys trapped in the range of a cult of mad scientist dragons who will observe you, pretend to welcome you while performing psychological experiments on you or just observing you until it's time to either torture you to death for shits and giggles or use you as fuel to power fresh rune weapons, because rune weapons are made by you kill like 3 people as human sacrifices to get the magic to make a single rune weapon. And this city makes rune weapons. And that's why they've manipulated and eliminated all the people of Telos to abandon their prior religions, so they can start accumulating the worship to level up to quote air quotes God status. And so Lex, the Mind Mage, was freaking out because he can't say anything because there's at least one of these dragons watching at all times, and anything anyone says will be overheard. He can't even use telepathy to say it because they are telepathic as well, and they'll hear it the same as if he says it out loud. And of course, the instant that the dragons know that they're discovered, or the instant that the party becomes a threat to their plans by, like, say, spreading a new religion instead of allowing people to develop worship of the Council of Ascended Masters, then they're an inconvenience and they should be wiped out. And if you think 2-to-1 odds of the party has fought 2-to-1 odds before, yeah, sure, but it wasn't 2-to-1 odds of dragons. I mean, come on, guys. Lex knows these dragons. He knows these dragons very well. The weakest dragon, Decimus, is a level 6 wizard, level 3 summoner, has almost 800 hit points combined. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. There are 1 ancient, 4 adults, 1 ancient, 4 adults, and 5 hatchling dragons in this little study group, in this flight of dragons. And so Lex was completely freaking out, trying to figure out how he can save his friends, because Lex believes you all need to run. The whole party needs to just abandon camp, get out of their territory, run away. The problem is that you can't. And I would perfectly happily have driven Lex insane because of this little freak out. Except my godson, who's his player, rolled a nat 20 to save versus insanity. The twerp. So as you guys are going home, having made friends with the Council of Enlightened Masters, Lex collapses and everybody gets together to carry him out. And Lex has another psychic power called Insert Memory. And there's no saving throw of Insert Memory, and Insert Memory isn't telepathic. It's just direct point to point, so it can't be overheard by the 1 to 4 dragons actively spying on the party at any given moment. And so he is downloading the memory of he first, it's like a matrix where he goes to a white room, so you know that it's a false, not your memory. He explains who he is and what's going on, and then he gives like a quick summary video of 700 years of the Council of Enlightened Masters taking over Telos and screwing with people. Like, they appear to be the perfect rulers, and everybody's very content. They're secretly making people disappear, torturing them torturing them to death in various ways, driving them insane in various ways. Because they're evil mad scientist dragons. But it turns out one of my player characters was trying to set me up. He knew when he suggested we make a new base in Mount Shasta that Mount Shasta has Bigfoot legends. Mount Shasta has UFO legends. Mount Shasta has... Actually, I'm not making this city of Telos up. New Agers made that up. They actually believe that there's this hidden city of enlightened beings underneath Mount Shasta. So I'm not making that up either. All of this stuff. and my youngest gamer thought it would be hilarious to make the mace to Mount Shasta and watch me sputter and scramble to deal with all of the supernatural kooky stuff on Mount Shasta. Well, problem solved, because it turns out there aren't aliens and Bigfoot and all these other things. What you have is 10 evil dragons who get off on messing with people's brains, torturing them to death, making them disappear. Well, so they will appear like aliens or insert memories, because they have that power too. They can insert memories of being kidnapped and probed by aliens. They can, metamorphosis into something that looks like Bigfoot and jump around in front of cameras and then turn invisible and follow people, screaming back to their campers, laughing the entire time. All of the incredibly weird and diverse things happening in Mount Shasta that are completely contradictory is just this family of dragons getting their sick jollies by messing with civilians when it would be inconvenient with them to mess with their own citizens. So then they'll go outside and torture hikers and stuff. And the whole time they are making people disappear to make more rune weapons, which are incredibly powerful, the most powerful magical weapons. So that's not good. So that's what's been going on. And as soon as the party, if anybody in the party lets the spying dragons know they've been caught, they will wipe out the party, or they will attempt to. We segue straight to the violence. If we evangelize anyone in Telos, we segue straight to the violence. If they think they're on to them because they're trying to escape, we segue to the violence, because then there won't be anything left to learn from the party. So the party is trapped in a psychological prison of 10 spying, evil, torture, murder dragons. And they can't tell anybody, and the only way that Lex could let everybody know is by bumping into them and inserting the memory into each of them as soon as he can recover enough mental strength to do it, in turn, so that the other heroes are warned. And the heroes know that they can't even talk to each other about this, because they're constantly being spied about, and they're being listened into with telepathy. They can't really even let themselves think about it much, or there's a risk that they will be discovered. So that ticking clock of before the dragons kill everybody that you made, it might have used to have been like 4 to 10 years in dragon time, is not very long, is now like the moment anyone screws up, we segue straight to the dragon apocalypse. Go. And the weakest of them is like a level 6 mage and a summoner. Yeah. So the weakest of them is probably the equal of any 2 or 3 of our heroes, and there's 10 of them, and they get significantly more powerful. You guys are really, really screwed. By the way, Christoph, thank you for suggesting Mount Shasta as an adventure hook. I'm very glad. I hope that you enjoy it as much as I'm going to. So that's the situation. You've all been given the secret download. You now know that you are ants under glass, in a lab that is a volcano in a place that has already been wiped out, by the bomb and the plague. So good luck. I can't wait to see what you guys do about it, but that was way too much for me to try to type out before work. Hence the video. Hope you enjoy.